Hi, my name is Barun. Today we will discuss common errors that we make while speaking in English. So one of the very common errors that we make while speaking in English, I heard a lot of my colleagues, they make these mistakes, this kind of mistakes while speaking with the customers on call. They say, did you knew this? Well, the correct English is, did you know this? So let's explain why it is so. So in the simple past, the affirmative should be I knew, or we knew, you knew, he or she knew, they knew. If we want to ask a question, it should be like, did I know? Did we know? Did you know? Did he or she know? Or did they know? And if I just want to say it in a negative sense, it should be I did not know, we didn't know, you did not know, he or she did not know, they did not know. So let's say if I have to take one single person, let's say I, the first person, so it should be I knew, or did I know, or I did not know. So the thing is, when we are changing something into question form or an interrogative form, from I knew, if I want to ask a question, it should be did I know, because I'm already using one past tense, one simple past tense, that is did. I don't need to use knew because I'm already using did. So I hope this is clear to you guys. So let's move on to the next slide. So we often hear people saying that if the story was true, what would it matter? Or if I was the president, I would do that, I would do this. But grammatically, that's not correct. So it should be if I were the president, if I were a bird. So when we are saying something hypothetically, which is not real, so I wish I could be that. So I'm just imagining that, or I'm hypothetically saying that. So in that case, the singular subject takes a plural verb, which is completely opposite to the usual situation. So usually a singular subject takes a singular verb and the plural subject takes a plural verb. But in this case, when it is a hypothetical situation, or we call it subjunctive mood, so in that case, it's just the other way around. The singular subject takes a plural verb. Okay, so it's like, if the story were true, what would it matter? I wish I were a bird. I wish I were the president. It's like that. Let's look into this. This is a very common mistake that I see a lot of people making every day. So usually, two or more singular subjects connected by and take a plural verb. But when and is followed by a negative word like as or no, not, the verb then agrees with the word preceding not. So for example, only boys and no girl is guilty is not correct. The correct sentence is only boys and no girl are guilty. So it should be like Ram and Shyam are two brothers. He and his friends have arrived. I and not my friend have arrived. Here, if you see, my friend has arrived should have been the case. However, the verb have has agreed to the first subject I. So in this kind of sentence, this is correct, because the subject that is with not will not be considered, even though that is close to the verb. The verb should agree with the word preceding not, which is I. Similarly, only boys and no girl are guilty. Here as well, are is agreeing with only boys, that subject which is preceding to the word with not. Alright, so hope you guys have clearly understood this. Let's move on to the next slide. Alright, so let's look into this. So every man, woman and child were charmed. I mean, in an usual sense it may sound right, because here we are thinking of three different subjects where they are connected by and. So it may sound like a plural, like man, woman and child. We are talking about more than one person. That's why every man, woman and child were charmed. Sounds correct, however it's not. It should be every man, woman and child was charmed. So the reason behind this is we use a singular verb after a subject with every, each, any, no, everyone, everything, each one, anything, anyone, something, someone, nothing, no one, nobody. So for example, every pupil has a book. Each boy was waked. Someone is waiting at the door. Something is wrong. Make sure nothing goes wrong here. So in these cases, subjects were every, each, someone, they all took singular verb. Now let's say if two or more singular subjects preceded by each or every are connected by and, then the verb will be singular. So if we have to say each boy and each girl, it should be each boy and each girl was, not each boy and each girl were, because here both the subjects are preceded by each. So it should be each boy and each girl was dressed well. Every man and woman of the village was present there. Every hour and minute brings its call for duty. And that reminds me to go to the next slide as the time is passing. So let's move on. So when the subjects are joined by or, nor, either or, neither nor, and they are of different numbers, then the plural subject should come last and the verb should agree with the plural subject which is close to it. So for example, if there is a sentence where one subject is singular and another one is plural, we should place the plural one later and put the verb according to that. So when we are saying neither the villagers nor the president was hurt, that's not correct, because we should put the plural verb villagers later. So it should be neither the president nor the villagers were hurt. Same way, Nikhil or his friends have done this. We can't say Nikhil's friends or Nikhil, or let's say either Nikhil's friends or Nikhil has done this, because here Nikhil's friends is the plural and that should be put on the later part. Same way, neither Akbar nor his brothers were cruel. It should not be neither Akbar's brothers nor Akbar was cruel, because we should put the plural one later and the verb should agree with that. And when the subjects are joined by or, nor, either or, neither nor are of same number but different persons, then the verb agrees in person with the nearest to it. So if we say either he or I have done this, that's correct. Either I or he has done this. So both are correct, because he and I here both are singular and we can place them wherever we want, because both are singular. And the verb will go by the closest to it. So he or I have done this, that is also correct. Or we can say either I or he has done this, that is also correct. Okay, because both are singular, the number is same, and the person can be put anywhere. The first, second, third person, there is no such order that we have to maintain here when we are joining them with either or, neither nor, or nor, or anything like this. Well, this is another very common mistake that I often hear people making. So I often hear them saying, one of my friends are getting married. However, it's not correct, because one friend is getting married. So it's like one of my friends, one of my many friends is getting married. It's because ultimately it's just one friend who is getting married. It's not many. So we have to understand how many people we are talking about. We have to sense the subject. So the subject is singular. So the correct sentence is, one of my friends is getting married. Similarly, each of, one of, either of, neither of, the taste of, the smell of, the quality of, etc. take a singular verb because the subject is singular. So we have to sense the number of subject that we are talking about. Like one of the boys was ill. Here, one of the many boys was ill, not all the boys. Hence, it will take a singular verb. One of the boys was ill, not are or were. Then each of the students was given a prize, not were, because again we are talking about each of them, and that sounds singular. Neither of the books was interesting. The quality of the oranges is not good. Same way, if we had to say the taste of the oranges is not good, it would be. So we have to understand the subject. We have to sense the subject, whether it's singular or plural. That's the main thing. So here we are talking about a quality or a taste. That's of course a singular subject, and that's why the verb is singular. Okay, so hope this is clear. We have to always sense the subject as to whether it's plural or singular. Let's move on to the next slide. Alright, let's take a look into this now. So a collective noun takes a singular verb when it is thought of as a whole, and takes a plural verb when the individuals are separately thought of. That's why it's very important to understand or sense the subject, whether it is meant in a plural sense or a singular. So let's take a few examples. When we say the jury is divided in their opinions, it's not correct, because here the jury is divided. So there may be 3 or 4 judges, but they are here in this sentence, they are meant individually or separately. Okay, because they're divided in their opinions. So the correct sentence should be, the jury are divided in their opinions. Same way, if we have to say that the jury has ordered to hang the man, that is correct, because there all of them are together. They're not divided in their opinions. So in that case we can say that the jury has ordered to hang them, or the committee has decided to do this. Okay, or the club is going to do this, because there it's all together one sense. The sense is like one singular, okay, even though there are many people, okay, into it. So when we say the army was defeated, that's correct, because the entire army was defeated. We can also say 50 rupees is enough for me. There is a large audience. So there may be different people or many people in an audience, but we are pointing it as a one or singular. The sense is singular here. However, when we say the audience are requested to take their seats, here we are addressing each of them individually, okay? So it's like this. We have to sense the subject. Alright, let's take a look into this. So if we say he and you are birds of same feather, it's not correct. Well, the verb is correct. However, what is wrong here is the arrangement, the order of the subject. So the correct sentence is you and he are birds of same feather. So when subjects differing in number or persons or both are connected by and, the verb must always be in the plural, and also the order in which the subjects should be placed in the sentence should be like second person, third person, and the first person. It should be like you, he, and I, like that. However, there is an exception whenever it's about admitting a mischief. In that case, only in case of admitting a mischief, it will be completely opposite. First, third, and the second then. So it should be then I, he, and you. Just the opposite. So let's take an example. You, he, and I are friends. You and I would enjoy the movie. And the exception, I, he, and you have done this mischief. So here we are admitting a mischief, hence it's an exception. So it's I, he, and you have done this mischief, completely in the opposite order to the usual order. Alright, so hope this is clear. Let's move on to the next slide. Alright, now let's take a look into this. Just remember, when the words are joined by with, together with, or as well as, the verb always agrees with the first subject. So let's take an example. The Prime Minister with all his cabinet members have arrived. That's not correct, because here the subject that should be considered is the Prime Minister, which is singular. Hence, the correct sentence should be the Prime Minister with all his cabinet members has arrived. So we just have to keep in mind where the subjects are being joined by with, together with, or as well as. We need to put the verb according to the first subject. Let's take a few examples. Mr. Smith, together with some of his friends, is buying some books. Here, the subject is Mr. Smith, and that's why the verb is agreeing with Mr. Smith. I mean the subject Mr. Smith. Same way in the next sentence, Viva as well as her friends was selected for the new role. So here there are two subjects, Viva and her friends. However, the verb was agreeing with Viva, the first subject. And same way, they with their father deserve respect. Again, the verb deserve here has agreed with the subject they, the first subject. That's how we need to remember. Just with, together with, or as well as. If these are the joiners between the subjects, then the verb should always agree with the first subject. Alright, so hope this is clear. Let's move on to the next slide. Alright, so let's take a look at this. So these are the prepositions, okay? So these are a few very basic prepositions where people get confused or make mistakes. So let's get this clear. So we have to fill in the blanks with on, upon, over, and above. Now, on signifies contact with a thing at rest. So put the book on the table, okay? However, upon speaks of things in motion. So the cat sprang upon the table. Now the fan is moving dash his head. And let's take a example, the last one, the fan is moving just dash my head. So what's the difference? Because in the first one, the fan is moving over his head. However, in the last one, the fan is moving just above my head. So over refers to a point generally higher than a thing. Above refers to a point directly higher or far higher. Like the sun is above the trees now. That means the sun is just above or up to a point directly higher. So maybe it's in the straight line in the 90 degree to the ground. That means just exactly over the trees, which happens or at the sharp at 12 in the afternoon. So that's the position it refers. The sun is above the trees now. That means it's directly higher. The same thing is there in the last example. The fan is moving just above my head. That means if the fan falls, it will fall directly on his head because it is just above his head. However, in the other one, the fan is moving over his head. That means the fan is moving at a higher position than his head. That doesn't mean that maybe the guy is in the room and the fan is moving, but it may not mean that the fan is exactly over above. Okay, so that's the difference between over and above. So you can say the plane flew over Bangalore. The sky is above our head, because above also means far higher. Okay, so let's take a look at this. I mean to the correct answers. Well, let's take a look into this. I mean, this is very simple. Just remember, when we are talking about two, then it's between. Where we are talking about more than two, then it is among. So divide the mangoes among two brothers. That's not correct, because here we are talking about two. So you can say divide the mangoes between the two brothers. However, if it was like divide the mangoes among the 10 brothers, then it would be correct, because more than two. So Arjun and his 4 brothers shared the food among themselves, because we are talking about total 5 people. And then when we say come between 7 and 8 a.m., so we are talking about between 2, 7 and 8. It's like that. Okay, then another thing. So when we are talking about time, so for a period of time, we should use for. So for means a period of time, a duration, like say 1 week, 5 years, 10 years. It's a duration. So for is used for a duration. However, if we are referring to a point of time, let's say 7 a.m. in the morning, or since 7 a.m. in the morning, or since 1995, okay, or from next week, from tomorrow, from today, since yesterday. So these are the point of time, okay, not a duration. So that's the difference. So remember, when we are referring to a point of time, we can use since or from. Usually since is used for past and past perfect, and from is used in all the tenses. And whenever we are referring to a duration or a period of time, there for is appropriate. So let's take a few examples. I have not seen him from or since a week. It's not correct, because a week is a period of time. So it should be I have not seen him for a week. Okay, it's like this. Now let's take another example. I am working in Accenture for 6 years. So here 6 years is a duration. However, I am working in Accenture since May 2017. Here, May 2017 is a point of time. And again, let's say if I say I shall start learning French from next week. So again, next week is a point of time, but I can't say since next week. It's because since is used only in past and past perfect. So here from fits right. Okay, so these are the things we should practice, and by practicing it will come automatically. All right. All right, let's look into a few more prepositions. So the frog jumped in the well is not correct. The frog jumped into the well is correct. It's simply because in denotes position within and into denotes a position in the word. So whenever there is something in motion, then into fits right. Like he is entering into the room. Okay. Now let's take another example. He is at Bengaluru. That's not correct, because Bengaluru is a big city. So the correct preposition should be he is in Bengaluru. So at is used for a preposition in a small space. In is used for a position in a large space. At home, at the bus stop is correct, because the home, bus stop, these are the small places. But Bengaluru is a big city, so it should be in Bengaluru. And then forest, desert, India, these are the big places. So you can say in a forest, in a desert, in India, like that. Okay, now if we say meet me in night, that's not correct. However, meet me at night is correct. But this is actually an exception. So let's explain this. So we use in for a period of time, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, in the next few days, in spring, in July, in 2025, in an hour. So these are all like a period of time, but night is also a period of time. But for that we use at. So even though night is a period of time, we don't say in night, because that's an exception. Okay, so it's at night. Hence, meet me at night is correct. So at is used for a point of time, usually like at 10 p.m., at 8 o'clock, at dawn, at noon, at breakfast. Okay, so hope this is clear, the difference between in and at. Now let's take a look into a little more advanced use of in and. So he's at office and he's in the office. Both are correct, but mean different. So at is used when we are talking about the general purpose. In is used to simply denote the position within that building. So let's say he's at the office, means he's at the work. The Browns are at the theater, which means its general purpose is like watching a play, means the Browns are watching a play. When you say we were at the library, it means the general purpose, like we were either choosing or reading a book. He is at home, means he is at rest. But he is in the office now, or he is not in office now. This denotes the position inside the building or outside the building, like not in the office means he's not inside the building now. Okay. The Browns are in the theater to meet someone. See, here we are not using at the theater because meeting someone is not a general purpose of being in the theater. All right, that's why. And again, if you say it was cold in the library, it's correct because the general purpose, when we are saying I was at library, that means the general purpose is reading or choosing a book. What do people do in the library? But when we are trying to say it was cold in the library, I can't say it was cold at the library. Okay, because I'm talking about the position inside that building, the library building. Inside that there was cold. So it was cold in the library, or it was dark in the library. Anything like that when we are referring to a position inside that building. Okay. We should use in. But for general purpose, it's at. Alright guys, so hope this was useful and keep practicing these things that you've learned today. Remember, practice makes a man perfect.